Hey everyone, it is your host Damien here from Hybrid Heroes, and this is the HYROX Heroes podcast, where we talk everything that you need to know when it comes to getting ready for your next HYROX race. Excited to have you here, and let's get into the episode. Hey everyone, how are you? And thank you so much for jumping on today's podcast episode. Now, HYROX World Championships have just wrapped up in Chicago, and there was so much going on. There was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of great racing, and a lot of lessons, as always, that we can take away from it. So today, what I'm doing is I'm just jumping on for this podcast to talk about just some of the things, not all of the things. There is so much to debunk that happened over the weekend, so many races, so much going on, but we're just going to look at some of the things that we can clearly see, we can clearly take away, because this sport is just moving at a rapid pace. It is growing from a competitive point of view. But more importantly, and what we love to do here at Hybrid Heroes, is how does this translate to you, to the normal person who's training, not the elite 15? Because there's always lessons, and sometimes we get confused. What does this mean for me? So we're going to debunk some of this. We're going to have a lot of talking points, and it's going to be great, some really great discussion going on right now. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and it's been definitely a key point. We've been seeing heaps of this on Instagram, TikTok, a lot of reels around this, and it's the sled turf. Now, HYROX have introduced a new sled turf, which was amazing, and I love it. Like it looks better, number one, and it's going to be more consistent. So this is the direction of the sport. They're trying to become more consistent with their venues. They're trying to improve the sled quality, all these things. But what we saw the sled just doing what the sled does, being hard work and difficult. Now with the sled, so if you're not too familiar with what's going on, so new sled turf got introduced, as I just said. But what happened was there was some lanes that were clearly faster than others. So some lanes, and we saw this, it looked like the sled just was not moving. And then some lanes, it was just flying. Now, where have we seen this before? If you come from the CrossFit world, we've seen this at the CrossFit Games. Anywhere realistically that there's a sled with multiple lanes, we have seen this problem occur. So it creates a challenge in itself. There could be various things. It could be the turf, the quality of the turf. So obviously there's so many lanes in HYROX. It could be the flooring underneath, it could be the humidity, it could be if there's sweat on the ground. There's so many little things there. But this is something that HYROX need to address, obviously. So we've seen this, and the obvious, like how disappointing would it be if you went all the way to World Championships and that sled just got stuck versus other lanes? So that's a whole discussion, and that's for HYROX to figure out. But I guess if you are stuck in that bracket, or if you've seen that, I guess we have to this is one thing that I want us to observe with HYROX. It's such a new sport still. Like 2017 this thing started, and it's growing bigger and bigger, and we have so much to be grateful for HYROX. Doesn't mean that these things are always acceptable, but we have to know that HYROX, and I believe in HYROX because they're a great company, and they really truly are just constantly improving. So this is going to be part of that journey. Okay, but what does it mean for us? What does it mean for us? Well, we have data and we have proof now, because myself and our crew, we saw this in New Zealand. We raced in New Zealand, and some of the first lanes were moving quicker. Some of the middle lanes weren't, and I got stuck with this. Now, I'm a stronger athlete. Like I come from a strength background, and the sleds is where I excel. And at New Zealand, this sled was stuck. I went on the sled pull, and I'm like, this thing is just not moving. So, what do you do in that situation? What do you do? Do you let it get to your head? Do you slow it down? Do you have an argument? Do you talk to the judge? Do you just waste time, or do you just get on and just pull that sled as quick as you can? And that's what I had to do. I just had to go, it is what it is, right? Now, I've learned this through years of racing in multiple sports. It's like, it is what it is. Like, you have to adapt to the conditions. Now, the sport over the years is going to get more and more refined. But there are so many sports where there are things, right, that happen. So for us all to have an expectation that everything is going to be perfect every single time, and that's what you deserve, it's going against just like, the world, right? It's just not going to be that. There's always going to be a level of things can go wrong, right? And there's going to have these discrepancies. So what do we need to do? We need to prepare for worst case scenario. Now, I love it because I made a comment on social media and had quite a few people message me saying, thank God that you said this, because it's so true. It's like, you got to prepare worst case scenario. You got to pull like the heavy sled at your gym. Like, you got to overload that thing every now and then. You got to do strength training. You got to be strong. You got to be prepared for a lighter sled or a heavier sled, quote unquote. You have to adapt to those situations. So if you haven't done enough strength training, or you're not prepared and you're just hoping that, like, for a fast lane, or, anticipating that the sled is going to move a certain way, and then it's not, you could then be caught reacting instead of being in a boat where we can anticipate this thing. Now, it's unfortunate. It sucks. I was literally just watching a reel from, like, even James Kelly talking about this. It's just the nature of the sport. So, again, it's our responsibility to prepare for this situation. There is data now. So this is all we can observe. There is data now, and we've seen it at multiple races, that the sleds can be tough, right? So, and I think that's how it's always meant to be. That sleds are meant to be a strong strength element. So it's like, I would almost dare say the really fast lanes, right, are maybe too fast, right? Maybe we're going back to how that sled should be. It should feel like a drag, literally, no pun intended. It should feel really, really challenging. So, just when we thought this is just the running race and you just got to be able to run fast, it's exciting for me to see. And I know there's probably a lot of people who are listening to this podcast who are strength-based athletes as well, and are like, thank God, let's slow down these runners somehow. So I think this is just something we need to observe, we need to prepare for, and that is what we saw at HYROX World Championships, okay? And this is on the new turf, right? So the fact that this turf is going to be consistently rolled out, there's a good chance that it's going to be consistently, we're going to have slow lanes, right? Unless they do something totally drastic to change that. So one thing that HYROX did say as well is they do test and measure the sled, and there's an acceptable range. So if they do find that the sled's like not moving, they will not use that lane and so forth. But what we saw at World Championships was they saw that it wasn't acceptable, but it's still, the mistake still happened. So, human error. Until AI robots are running this thing, right, there is human error at play still. But HYROX, they do a fantastic job. Like, again, if you've grown up in other sporting events, if you've especially been through a lot of the CrossFit sporting events, HYROX run their events at such a high level. I'm so impressed by everything they do, how they handle it, and how they constantly take on the criticism from the community and want to improve. So HYROX, just hats off to you. You do a great job, and that's why we just love being part of it. So really, really good. Okay, what else did we see? The international relay race. If you saw this, holy, there was so much going on. What are some of the things that went on? Like Team USA got disqualified. Hunter McIntyre, just being Hunter McIntyre, just being passionate, being a beast, just living up to his brand, of racing's rubbin', Robin's racing, one of those quotes. But, we did see him basically hip and shoulder someone. Like, this is what us Aussies love. We love a good hip and shoulder in footy. But he did it on the HYROX course. And unfortunately, this kind of behavior is not, gonna fly in HYROX anywhere. Now, we've also, so you got disqualified, Team USA got disqualified for unsportsmanlike behavior. Now, I've seen lots of this, even at just other events that we've been at, where people are yelling at judges, where people are barging past people. Now, the run course, there's freaking 10,000 people that run on that course. People are going to get in the way But if you hip and shoulder someone, if you barge someone, if you really just display poor sportsmanship, just actually it's just being a bad human, like bad human character traits. Like if you just display that, like I think we're missing the point of competition, the flaw, and yeah, what we saw with Team USA, I think that was the right call to disqualify him. I also, love the passion. I also love a bit of a bit of an elbow, a bit of a hip, well, not a hip and shoulder, a bit of an elbow is fine. Maybe he could have said some words, but I think when he actually bumped him, and if you haven't seen it, I think the Irish guy cut in front of him. There was something like that. Hunter didn't like it, but he clearly, changed direction, made body contact, and the guy nearly stumbled. Like he could have tripped, he could have injured himself. It's just not a good look. So what we can learn from that is we always have to remember that we are representing ourselves, we are representing others, right? And bringing this type of behavior to any kind of HYROX event, any event, just anywhere in life really, should not be allowed. So that was good. I think that was really, really cool thing that we saw there. HYROX just, stay true to their values. What we also saw in this relay race is we saw second and third place cross the line at the same time. And they crossed the line at the same time, and they both couldn't figure out who won, and they both got awarded second. So this goes back to a principle that we always talk about, and something that we train a lot in our training and coaching is transitions, fast transitions. Every second counts. So if you're in a team, if you're somewhere in a sled, now it's a long race, right? They're out there for 50 to 60 minutes. These elite teams were out there for. You could make up a second anywhere, right? That's what it came down to. How crazy is that? It literally just came down to, a little bit faster transition there, a little bit, not stopping for a drink there. Not that any of these relay team would have done that. But every second does count. Now, if you are racing, if you're trying to achieve your fastest time, it's another lesson that, transitions are so key, that, those little seconds, those little habits, right, that can cost you big time. And also awareness, right? That's something we always have to learn. It's like, it's not just, HYROX is not just becoming a race of, it's just me against me out there, and this is my time and that's your time. There is an element of actually feeding off the environment, being aware. So if you're in front of someone, or if you're chasing someone, like if you're chasing someone, you can feed off that, right? So the person in front needs to be aware of their situation. So awareness is really crucial. So for the team that was coming second and that third place catching up, second place should have been aware of third place, right? Very aware, and just made sure they stayed ahead, and so forth. So if you're out there, guys, obviously in your solo races, most of the time you're not aware of exactly who's next to you, but just always in the back of your mind, just be like, every second counts. Like if I'm trying to get a PB, if I'm trying to do my best. Now, this doesn't necessarily matter for everyone, because a lot of people doing HYROX aren't just chasing every single second. You're just trying to cross the finish line. So again, that's just a clear thing that we need to understand. It's like, what's your reason for being out there? Are you trying to set your best time? Because if you are, we have to take these things on board. But if you're just trying to get out there to achieve your best, right, to be part of it, to have fun, to smile, to cross the finish line, due to sense of accomplishment, then just know that, yes, I can transition all that, but that's not what I need to do. I don't need to focus on that. So it allows you then to focus on the other things. So I think this is just information that you can understand where it fits in. And as you progress on your journey, maybe you're someone who's just going to cross the finish line this first time, but then as you start to go, oh, I now want to go faster. Okay, transitions. That's the spot that I can now focus on. And we can make up a huge difference there. When it comes to racing, especially if you're someone who is wanting to, get to the podium spots, this is a key lesson once again. We also saw this with the winners of the male Elite 15 race in the solos. Now, Hunter McIntyre was coming second, did 100 wall balls to almost catch up to first place, the German. And what we saw was Hunter was like catching up, going unbroken. And the German, I can't pronounce his name properly, so I'm not going to say that. I apologize. He was braking. So, and the crowd was getting around it, and you could see Hunter catching up. Now, the one thing that I noticed with this is we look at it and go, oh, is he slowing down? Is first place slowing down? Is Hunter going to catch up? But what I think we did see, because I could see it as soon as he finished the first place, as soon as he finished his 100 wall balls, he didn't sprint across the line. He then just jogged and celebrated as he crossed the line. Like, he was aware. He knew where Hunter was. He knew that I did not need to go 100 unbroken. He knew that Hunter was 20 reps, 15 reps, 10 reps behind him. It was very, very marginal at the end. And he just rested, saw Hunter pushing, right? And just picked the ball back up, went back in, and he completed his reps. He got less, didn't get the no reps, and got the job done. Like, awareness, right? Awareness is such a key lesson that we can learn out there. So we saw that in the in the men's elite 15, which is really important. So I think, sometimes when we're out there, especially if we're racing, right? If you're 20 reps in front of second place, right? Or if you're racing your friend or something like that, or even in training, it's about being aware in training. That's why you see people oversend it, right? But being aware of your pace and where you're meant to be within the station, right, is so important, and not to get caught up on other people's energy. Stay in your lane, be aware of what's around you, right? And this is how, really, if we apply this in training, this is where, when it comes to race, you now know what you're capable of. Because we can see people, and this is another important lesson, is we can see people overexert in a race. It's like they train a certain way, or maybe they're not so certain about what they're doing in training. So when it comes to race day, they just overexert. They blow beyond their strategy because they're not dialed in when it comes to training. So knowing your wall ball pace, knowing your strategies, knowing what you're capable of. So if someone is chasing you and they're 20 reps behind you, you're like, all right, you're not going to catch me even if I break for 15 reps, because I know where you're at. I know what I can do. And this will bring you a lot of confidence to your HYROX racing and abilities. So another huge thing we learned there. Okay. There was so much going on, guys. So much going on. So another thing that we saw like multiple people pull out of their race event. Like, they pulled out. So there was a lot of swapping over, a lot of athletes coming in. There was a few injuries on the course. Now, again, I don't know all of the details of what's going on with the athletes, why it all happened. More and more information will become known. But the one thing that I could observe is, okay, the quality and the standard of HYROX is the highest it's ever been. These people are true athletes. They're running so fast. They're just performing on such a high level. Now, we're seeing people like doing 3 HYROX events, like 3 elite races. Like, they were doing international relays, they were doing elite solos, and then they were doing a doubles race. And some of them were even doing like a mixed as well. So a lot of these elites were doing 2 to 3 events, right? 2 or 3 events over the weekend. Now, obviously exciting. It's a big weekend. You want to get involved with it. But we also saw a lot of these athletes have to pull out and also didn't perform their best. So what are we seeing? And we see this at a local level, right? So again, how does this relate to people, normal people? We will probably have this friend. You might be this friend, right? That you go to the HYROX event and you've signed up for 3 events. You've signed up, for multiple. You want to get involved, FOMO, right? Now, this, again, you have to be really, really clear on your goals. You have to be clear on your goals. Do I want to do 3 events, right? Because I just want to do it all. Like, it's fun. I don't want to miss out. I just want to cross the line. And of course, I want to do my best, but more importantly, I just want to race. Or do I want to go sub 60? Do I want to podium? Do I want to qualify for World Championships? If this is the case, if you want to win your race, there's a difference. It's like maybe signing up for 2 events is not smart. It's going to come at a cost to your body. You potentially can get injured. It's like, to fully exert yourself on one day and then back it up another day, it could cause problems. It could cause injuries. So not only lack of performance into your next race. Even I've seen a lot of people, and I know, that also have 2 events on the weekend, and then they don't even fully exert themselves on the first race because they're already worried that they got to do it 2 times over the weekend. So we're seeing, I believe we're seeing this play out where we're seeing these elite athletes. They just can't do 3 races. Why? Because they're getting injured, because they're not performing, because they're pulling out of races. So I think that's something that we can all start to think about ourselves. And HYROX, for a lot of us now, as it's growing in every country, is not new, like it's not brand new anymore. Like for some people it is, but when I say that, it's, the first time I remember it came to Australia, like I wanted to be involved in it every way I could. Now it's been here for a few years. We've been part of it. Okay, I don't need to do 3 races every weekend or something like that now. It's like, which I haven't, by the way, but I just do one. But it's like that FOMO has sort of calmed down a little bit. So we just get caught up 12 weeks out, 10, the tickets go on sale, and we just get so excited that we're just going to sign up for 2 or 3 of them right away. But the reality is, like, to be conditioned enough, to be fit enough, and then to actually go and perform on that weekend, it's a huge ask. It's a huge ask. So especially if you're, again, a normal person working a job, got other commitments, and then you sign up for 3 HYROXes, like you're gonna stress yourself out in a lot of ways potentially. So I think we should just be focusing on one event, right, and doing it well, or just setting, right, again, realistic expectations on the weekend. We had a podcast that he's going to be launching soon that I did with Elliot Fagan, who is doing 10 HYROXes at HYROX Sydney. Okay, that goes against everything, but he's a man on a mission. He's doing it for a great cause, he's doing it for charity, and he's doing it to push himself. So how cool is that? So that podcast is going to be dropping really, really soon. So that's how we should do it. If you're doing 3 or more HYROXes, you should be doing it for a great cause. So I love that. Okay, guys, we got a couple more here to go through. All right, judging. Whew. The judges, it's at World Championships, talking about HYROX World Championships. The judges were on point, right? Now, judging can be a topic of discussion in many ways. There are rules, there are standards. And at the end of the day, we should just do things the way the book tells us to do it. Now, as someone who's a coach, who's someone who understands a lot about, I guess business as well, let's zoom out. What is like HYROX? So I'm going to talk about judging, but we're just going to zoom out a bit. HYROX, okay? And on an average event, 10,000 people go there. Out of that 10,000 people, there might be 50 people that land on a podium, right? Over all categories, just as an example, okay? So it's such a small percent of people, right, that need that like super strict judging, or it matters, right? It matters. So even if we take out 1,000 people, there are 9,000 people that are there to participate in the sport of HYROX. Not necessarily there to race, not necessarily there to get no repped, okay? And HYROX understand this. HYROX understand that there's a lot of people that are there just to achieve something great, to push themselves, to be part of a community, to join a HYROX training club, to be part of the brand, to, again, be healthier versions of themselves. They're not, HYROX is not there to make sure that, Joanne, who has just lost 30 kilos on her weight loss journey and never used to do fitness, and then found a HYROX community, and because of that has changed her life. She's now mentally happy. She's off antidepressants potentially. She's losing weight. She's changed her life. HYROX isn't there to penalize her because she cannot, right, do a full depth squat at the wall balls. They're there to encourage her. They're there to help her. They're there to put a box under her and say, let's go to the box. But if she can't do it, they're there to encourage her to keep going and do her best. Like, that's an example. There are people there that are clearly capable and then don't squat all the way down. They're the ones that, okay, HYROX are going to have a volunteer there most likely. What's their job? To yell at you and tell you, they will guide you. It's the athlete's responsibility ultimately, right? Because HYROX understand that they just can't go around and just being super strict to everyone just to be a Nazi, right? They're not there to do that. They're there to make you have fun. They're there for you to have an experience, to cross the line, to put the lights on, to make you feel special, right? So we got to understand that. We got to understand, and as a coach, it's so important, because how do I get the best out of someone? It's not just by yelling at them, penalizing them, telling them do it again and make them suffer, right? So HYROX, and I was a judge at HYROX Sydney as well. And HYROX did a fantastic job, once again, of instructing us how we should judge, And I've been coached for 18 plus years. So, I was very experienced in this field, but we were still instructed, like, if judge appropriately. It's like, if we, like, obviously hold the standards, hold values, make sure that we encourage, tell people, warn them, give a no rep as needed as per the rules, but also identify who's in front of us. I remember I had a husband and wife doing it at the wall balls in Sydney. They were doing wall balls, and now the wife, like, she could barely squat, like, in general, let alone for wall ball. They were both slightly overweight. They weren't elite 15, like, but they were doing HYROX, husband and wife. And, like, she was quite short as well. She would have been like 4'9" or something. And there she is with the wall balls, and her husband was suffering. She's got this wall ball. She's looking at the target, and she can't squat properly. She can barely throw, and she was getting to the target, right? And they had 100 wall balls to do in front of them. Like, it was crazy. So, was I going to no rep her for every single no rep that she did? I did not. If she could get that ball to the target, like, I was like, that's a win. They did 100 reps. Were they perfect? No. But, like, that's an example. Okay. We get that. You understand what I'm saying there. Now, for most people, if you're capable, the athlete, what we do, and this is what I preach again to all my athletes, we preach it to our crew, is we train to the highest standard possible. We have to know the rules. We have to know the techniques. And if we don't, that's our responsibility. That's why we provide the training and the resources in our coaching apps, is we show you the standards. We show you how to do things so you know how to do it. You can ask. You've got a coach there to ask, and we can guide you. Now, if you get to HYROX and your judge is no repping you, there's a good chance it's a no rep. Like, we should train so everything we do is convincing. Like, it's convincing. We can't leave the judge, is that a rep or no rep? We have to always move and perform and complete the reps to the standards in a convincing manner. We have to remove all doubt. That way the judge can't no rep you. So, especially if you are training to be elite, if you're training to compete, and then now you have that head judge there, and that head judge is no repping you, and it's like, oh, that judge was wrong and strict. It's like, no. It's like, they're just now upholding you to the highest standards. And that is what HYROX also do, is they will, when they need to, for the right athletes, they will be on your ass. They will have their yellow and red card. And if you don't do it perfectly, they will uphold it, because there's no room for error. And you know who monitors that a lot of the time too? It's the people. Because there's a lot of people, and we see it on social media and all the rest, they call the judges out. They call HYROX out. So HYROX do a good job. And, that's it. Like, so as an athlete, as someone doing it, we just have to set standards. So if you're doing burpee broad jumps, feet must be parallel. Like, do that in training. If you're not doing it in training, you're learning bad habits. Don't expect to then do it correct come HYROX. Okay? You have to start to do this in training. If you're doing wall balls and you're not hitting the X right in the center in training, you're not going to be doing it in HYROX, right? You're going to be creating bad habits, right? This is the lesson that we have to learn. Huge one here, guys. All right. So again, we set the standard. Okay. Whew. So it's been a huge episode already. Lots of lessons there to learn. So a bit of a wrap up now to finish. What does this mean again for us? It's like, we have to learn that HYROX is adapting. It's changing, right? And what you have to understand just where you're at. Okay, am I playing to be an elite? Am I playing to race and win? Am I playing to cross the finish line? And I think it's really important that we must then act in line with our aspirations. Okay, because again, HYROX, it's a competitive space, right? There's a lot of people on that course, so we have to always make sure we come in prepared and confident, right? For the judges, for the heavy sleds, for the unknowns. There's a famous saying from Tony Robbins. If you ever heard of much of Tony's stuff, is we should never react. We should always anticipate. We have to anticipate these things, and it's the people that have the ability to think ahead, always be 3 moves ahead, always anticipate what could go wrong, what can happen, and have a plan and a strategy around it. These are the people that will always succeed more and more often, time and time again. So guys, if you are on your HYROX journey, if anything there really resonated with you and you're like, you know what, like I need to learn, I need to grow, I need more help with that. That's what we do here at Hybrid Heroes. You can get involved with us. We've got a free online community where we have a great community that you can chat to people. We put a lot of content through there to help you with your HYROX. And if you want to go to the next level and you want training programs, you want guidance, you want coaching, right? If you want more content exclusively for people on our training platforms, we also have a training app, Hybrid Heroes training app, which is incredible as well. So we got lots of ways to help you on your journey. But if not, if you just got some value from this podcast, we've done our bit as well. So guys, continue to train hard, right? Continue to grow and develop as an individual, and always strive for progress over perfection. All right, everyone, we'll see you somewhere on the next episode or at HYROX soon.